figures about how much we spend on investment in housing today and how much we spend on housing. I think it's something like sort of 95 to 5 or 90 to 10, the proportion of money spent on housing benefit as against the money spent on actually investment in housing. And we've got to change that. By the way, the other thing that's really interesting about this is the government has spent a lot of time saying what changes they're making to housing benefit. I think I'm right in saying that housing benefit spending has gone up by more in the private sector under them than it did under the last Labour government. Because unless you build the houses, unless you actually invest in the houses, it's not going to make a difference. So I think you're bang on. Nick, I suppose it's a sort of two-part question about both about New Labour and my approach to New Labour and the situation in Scotland. Look, here's the way I see it, is that when you lose an election, which we did in 2010, you've got two choices as an opposition. You can say, we were right and the electorate was wrong, and that tends to guarantee you'll lose lots more elections. Because people think, well, hang on a minute, we chucked you out, and you're telling us that we were wrong. That's a bit weird. So I think New Labour was right for its time, but I've moved on. And just think about some of the things that I'm saying. You're talking about the fairer tax system, including a higher tax rate at the top. Saying we've got to take on some of the utilities like the banks, the energy companies. Saying that we've got to reshape the world of work. We can't just say, well, sort of deregulation, maximum flexibility is the answer. What I see, foreign policy, what I've tried to do is move us on from some of the mistakes that we made in the past and some of the things we've learned from the past. But on Scotland, I think that we are currently undergoing a leadership contest in Scotland, and we'll see what the outcome of that contest is. I think that the challenge from Scotland might look very different than the challenge in the rest of the United Kingdom. It isn't actually totally different. I think what people in Scotland are asking is the same thing people in the rest of the UK are asking, is what's the vision of the future? The nationalists have a vision of the future. I think it's completely wrong, but it's like an independent Scotland. Our task in Scotland is to say, here's a vision for social justice and equality in Scotland as part of the United Kingdom. And I actually think that's the task in the rest of the UK. And in the end, that's the biggest challenge that we face in Scotland. Getting that vision and showing that vision to people. And I know that we can do that. On the question about, the question about East Coast. So here's my answer to you on the rail is, I think that perhaps people are underestimating the importance of what we're actually saying on this, because we're saying for the first time we want the public sector to be able to take on these franchises, but it's got to be value for money. Now I think most people would agree it's got to be value for money, and you've got to have a test. So there's been this 20-year view that these things should be run in the private sector. By the way, there's an extraordinary thing about this, which is you might think this is a strange thing to say, but we're actually doing nationalisation by the back door. It's just nationalisation of European public companies coming in to run our railway. I mean, it's a slightly extraordinary thing. It's okay if you're a public company from the Netherlands or from somewhere else in Europe. That's good. We can nationalise you for you to do it here, but not if it's a public company in Britain.
Ellie, and now we're here with Ed Miliband, Labour leader. Your impressions?
I thought he actually did pretty well. I don't know if I necessarily feel represented by Labour, but I thought that he actually did really well. I didn't agree with him on everything, but there's quite a lot of things that I did really agree on, actually.
For example, what did you agree on?
Well, his views on immigration, they really surprised me, actually, because I think that a lot of people in politics seem to blame immigrants, and he actually kind of talked about it as though they were being exploited, which I definitely think that they are. So I don't know, I really agreed with him on that.
And what did you disagree with?
Well, his views on ISIS, really, about how he thinks that, bombing them and everything is actually, a constructive thing to do. I don't think it actually ever is, really. I think that there are actions that could be taken place which would be more constructive.
So what do you go away with, as a journalism undergraduate, what do you go away with after this? Do you think you'd like to get more involved in politics or see more politicians?
Well, I'd like to be a political journalist, so I don't know, it is actually very inspiring. I've really enjoyed it, I think that he did pretty well, and it did make me want to get more involved, and
Excellent. Marcus, and now we're here with the Labour leader. Impressions?
He spoke very well, to me. He gave a lot of his outlines about his plans sometimes I was thinking, you know, he's saying this, but how is he really going to take Britain on? It's something that obviously he said he's relishing, but some of his ideas, I thought maybe, you know, he says it, but is he really going to deliver it?
What did you think were the positive aspects of today?
As I said, he spoke very well. I mean, some of his ideas I thought were very good. Like his ideas on education, about the way he said that, you know, obviously I'm a student myself, so it's been, you know, it's very, it's very grinding, and I think that's true. I mean, myself being here for many years, I feel like it's been grinding on myself as well. So I think that's something that you can look at. Definitely.
Could you imagine that man in 6 months' time being a Prime Minister?
Yeah, I can. I mean, we've got David Cameron in charge at the moment, so anyone could probably be Prime Minister. I mean, myself, I'm not really involved in politics, and to me it just sounds like they make loads and loads of promises which they never deliver. I can imagine him being Prime Minister, and I can imagine he might make a lot of difference about the time they would tell him this thing.